To store the same electricity as a single AA battery, you would have to lift 100 kilograms 10 meters into the air. That number is the reason you have never been sold a gravity battery. It is also the reason 88% of America's stored electricity sits behind a dam, held up by nothing but height. A gravity battery has no chemistry inside it. No lithium, no acid, no cells to replace. It cannot catch fire, it cannot degrade, and it will still work perfectly in 50 years. You can build a working one for about $30 using a bucket of rocks, a length of rope, and a gear motor. It has been proven since the 1300s and appears on no incentive list today. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what it is, why the physics is brutal, and how to build one yourself. Let's dive in. A home lithium battery wall runs between $8,000 and $15,000 installed, depending on capacity and who does the wiring. That is the number on the quote. It is not the number that matters. The number that matters is buried further down the spec sheet in a line item called cycle life. Every lithium cell ever manufactured is rated for a finite number of charge and discharge cycles, not an estimate, a count, somewhere between 2,000 and 6,000 for most home storage chemistries. When you cross that threshold, the cell has not stopped working. It has simply degraded to the point where the manufacturer no longer guarantees what it will hold. And it degrades whether you use it or not. A lithium cell loses capacity sitting on a shelf doing nothing at a steady rate every year. It self-discharges quietly in the dark. Park it in a hot garage and the decay accelerates. Freeze it through a winter and its usable capacity drops further still. So the wall you paid for at year 1 is not the wall you own at year 10. It holds less, it delivers less, and eventually you replace it at full retail with another wall that starts the same countdown. That is not storage you own, that is storage you rent from chemistry. Then there is what is actually inside it. Lithium cells hold flammable electrolytes and rare metals pulled through long, contested, easily disrupted supply chains. They require a battery management system to keep them from overheating. They come with a disposal problem you inherit the day you buy them. You are paying 5 figures for a component that begins dying the moment it is manufactured and cannot be safely thrown away when it finally does. But there is a way to store electricity that has no chemistry inside it at all. Nothing to fade, nothing to burn, nothing to count. Pick up a stone and lift it over your head. You have just charged a battery. The work your arm did is not gone. It is held entirely in the stone's new position, and it stays there. There is no chemistry to decay, no cell to wear out, no cycle count ticking down in the background. The stone does not care whether you come back in an hour or in 40 years. The energy waits. Let it fall, and you can take that energy back out as motion, as spin, as current. Nothing inside it is consumed, nothing corrodes, nothing has an expiration date. A rock will store energy exactly as well in the year 2070 as it does this afternoon, because the only thing storing it is height. So, the obvious question is why every house on the street isn't doing this. The answer is a single number, and it is not a kind one. Physics gives the whole thing away in one line: E equals mgh. 3 terms, and none of them are complicated. E is the energy stored, m is the mass, how heavy your weight is, g is gravity, a fixed constant of about 9.8 on this planet, and h is height, the distance you lifted it. Multiply them together and you have the energy in joules. That is the entire theory of the gravity battery. There is nothing else. Getting the energy back out is just as plain. Attach the weight to a cord wrapped around a shaft and let it descend. The falling weight spins the shaft. The shaft spins a generator through a gear train. The generator makes current. Position becomes rotation, and rotation becomes electricity. But look carefully at that formula, because it tells you something a lot of people selling this technology would rather you skip past. Gravity does not appear on the input side. Gravity gives you nothing. Every joule that comes out of that falling weight was put in by you, or by your solar panel, or by the grid, at the moment the weight was lifted. Gravity is not a power source. Gravity is a container. And now the number. Back in 2011, the physicist Tom Murphy ran the arithmetic on exactly this idea. To store the amount of energy sitting inside a single AA battery, roughly 3 watt-hours, you would need to lift 100 kilograms a full 10 meters into the air, 220 pounds, 33 feet straight up. Read that again, because it governs everything that follows. 1 AA cell, 220 pounds, 3 stories. That is the wall. Every gravity storage design in the history of engineering has run directly into it, and no clever mechanism has ever moved it, because it is not a design flaw. It is the formula. Which sounds fatal, except this exact weakness ran European civilization for 600 years. Inside Salisbury Cathedral in Wiltshire, England, there is an iron machine that has been keeping time since roughly 1386. It has no dial, it has no hands. It was never built to show you the hour, only to strike it, so the parishioners outside knew when to come in. The frame is hand-wrought iron, assembled with tenons and wedges, because nuts and bolts had not been invented yet. It is widely called the oldest working clock in the world. And it runs on falling weights. Nothing else, no spring, no battery, no current of any kind. Two heavy weights descend slowly on ropes, driving the gear trains, and once a day someone winds them back to the top. That is the entire power system. It has been doing this, on and off, for over 6 centuries. Salisbury is not an isolated curiosity. Its sister clock at Wells Cathedral, dated to around 1392 and likely built by the same hands, still runs today in the Science Museum in London. Across the 14th and 15th centuries, the mechanical clocks that began appearing in the towers of Europe were driven by exactly one thing: mass, descending on a rope. Every grandfather clock in every hallway is a domestic descendant of that drive. So is every cuckoo clock in the Black Forest. Now, notice what those machines had in common, because it is the whole lesson. A clock draws almost no power, a few milliwatts of mechanical work spread thin across an entire day. It is the perfect load for gravity storage, a device that holds very little energy, but holds it perfectly and gives it back slowly. 600 years of service, zero chemistry, zero degradation, a power source you rewind by hand every morning, and which has never once needed replacing. The weight drive did not fail. It was displaced the moment we started asking storage to hold hours of power instead of minutes of motion, and it could not scale. Or so the story goes. Because if the weight drive really lost, someone should explain what is actually storing America's electricity right now. According to the Department of Energy's own hydropower market report, pumped storage hydropower accounts for 88% of all utility-scale energy storage in the United States. Not 8%, 88. Across 43 plants. Globally, pumped storage has now passed 200 gigawatts of installed capacity. And a pumped storage plant is a gravity battery. That is all it is. When electricity is cheap, you spend it pumping water uphill into a reservoir. When electricity is expensive, you let the water fall back down through turbines. The water is the weight. The mountain is the height. E equals mgh, at the scale of a lake. The solid weight versions are real too, and they are not on drawing boards. At the Port of Leith in Edinburgh, a Scottish firm called Gravitricity built a grid-connected 250 kilowatt demonstrator, a 15-meter lattice tower raising and lowering two 25-ton weights on steel cables, funded in part by Innovate UK. In testing, it went from 0 to full power in under a second, a response time Lithium struggles to match. A 2019 analysis by researchers at Imperial College estimated the system could store electricity at roughly half the lifetime cost of lithium-ion. In Rudong, China, Energy Vault built something considerably larger. The EVX tower stands about 148 meters, roughly 40 stories, and stores energy by stacking composite blocks weighing around 35 tons each, made partly from waste concrete and coal ash. It is rated at 25 megawatts for 4 hours, a 100 megawatt-hour system, with a claimed round-trip efficiency above 80% and a 35-year design life. 35 years, no cells to replace, no capacity fade, nothing inside it that can catch fire. This is not fringe engineering. It is grid-connected, utility-scale, and documented. So here is the question that should be bothering you by now. If gravity storage holds up the American electrical grid, why can't it hold up your house? Because of that number from earlier. Run the formula on a household scale and watch what happens. Take a 50-kilogram weight, 110 pounds, a bucket of rocks you can barely move and lift it 3 meters. Ceiling height in most homes. Mass times gravity times height. That gives you about 1,500 joules. Convert that to the units on your electric bill and you have roughly 0.4 watt-hours. Your phone battery holds somewhere near 15, so 100 pounds of rock hauled to your ceiling stores about 1/40th of a phone charge. Now scale that to a house. To bank a single kilowatt hour, 1 hour of a hairdryer, you would need to lift several tons, several stories, not a bucket, a truck, on a crane, all night. And that is exactly what the working systems are. A mine shaft, a mountainside reservoir, a 148-meter tower. Gravitricity and Energy Vault did not find a clever trick that beats the formula. They simply bought enough mass and enough height to make the formula pay. The utility can afford a mountain, you cannot. Then there is the paperwork, which finishes the job. There is no gravity battery manufacturer sending lobbyists to hearings. There is no trade association. There is no underwriters' laboratories listing for a bucket of rocks on a rope. And without a listing, no inspector approves it, no insurer covers it, and no appraiser assigns it $1 of value. Nobody buried this technology. The incentive lists were written for products that ship in boxes, and a stone does not ship in a box. It is not suppressed, it is just small. And I want to be direct about where that leaves us, because this channel exists to cut hype, not manufacture it. The best known consumer gravity device ever made, the Gravity Light, was manufactured until 2019. In 2020, the company behind it, Deciwatt, pivoted away to an entirely different product, not because of a conspiracy, because 12 kilograms falling 1.8 meters produces about 20 minutes of LED light, and no amount of engineering was going to change that. That is not a cover-up, that is a spec sheet. So the real question is not whether $30 of rope and rocks can run your home. It cannot. The question is what a permanent, chemistry-free store of a few watt-hours is actually worth. Start with what a few watt-hours actually runs. An LED reading lamp draws a fraction of a watt. A small emergency radio draws about 1. A phone, charged slowly through a supercapacitor, draws a few. None of these need a wall. All of them can be fed by a bucket of rocks descending from your ceiling. And here is the part that makes it worth building. A lithium power bank left in a drawer for 2 years is often dead when you need it. A weight on a rope is never dead. It is not storing charge, it is storing height, and height does not leak. That is the honest job description. An emergency light and radio that will work perfectly after a decade of neglect, and a store of energy that will be exactly as capable in 20 years as it is tonight. If you want the complete build, with every measurement and the full wiring diagram, we put together a guide covering everything in this video and more. The link is in the description below. Here is the build. The heart of it is a small geared DC motor run backward as a generator. The gearing is the entire trick. A slowly falling weight turns a shaft slowly, and a slow rotor generates almost nothing. The gear train converts that lazy descent into fast rotation, and fast rotation is where the current lives. Skip the gearing and you will produce a flicker, then nothing. Fit a pulley or sprocket to the shaft. Run strong cord over it. On one end, hang a bucket or a heavy bag filled with rocks or sand. From the generator's terminals, wire a blocking diode so current cannot flow backward into the motor as the weight settles. Then a small boost converter to lift the raw output up to a usable voltage, and a supercapacitor to catch and hold the charge. Total, at current US retail, comes in around $30. Most of that is the gear motor. Hang it as high as you safely can. Look at the formula again. Height is the only variable you get for free. Every additional foot of drop is stored energy you did not pay for. Expect minutes of light per lift, not hours. To get more, add mass, add height, or lift again. One critical warning, and this one is not about performance. Never stand or work beneath a suspended weight. Never trust a single knot or a single line. A 50-pound bucket falling from ceiling height is a genuine hazard. And of everything this channel has ever shown you how to build, this is the one that can actually hurt someone. There are real limits here, and with this one, they are not negotiable. A $30 gravity battery stores watt-hours, not kilowatt-hours. It will not run an appliance, a refrigerator, or a well pump. It will not bank your solar surplus in any meaningful quantity, for that you need mass and height you do not have. Every joule that comes out was put in when you lifted the weight by your own arms or your own power. Nothing here is free except the container, and a cheap gear, train, and generator lose real energy to friction and resistance on the way back out, so you will not recover everything you put in. What you get instead is a store of energy that cannot die. It cannot burn. It cannot fade in a cold garage or expire in a drawer. There is no cycle count, because there is nothing to count. The weight drive was never disproven, it was outgrown. It sat in cathedral towers for 600 years doing exactly what it promised and never one jewel more, and it is still up there, still running, long after every battery built alongside it turned to dust. If discovering the quiet, unglamorous, honest corners of engineering matters to you, subscribing and sharing is the simplest way to make sure this kind of knowledge keeps being found. We will be tracking all of it as it develops. So here is the question. Would you hang $30 of rope, rocks, and a gear motor from your ceiling, a light that still works in 30 years and can never catch fire? Or would you still reach for a lithium power bank that holds 100 times more and is dead in 5? I'd genuinely like to know. Drop it in the comments.